My name is Pranav, and my partner Dylan and I, for our final project, made a recipe generator, which generates recipes based on a list of inputted ingredients.
So why did we do this? Originally it was my idea because I'll be staying in an apartment over the summer, and since I don't really know how to cook that well, I'm going to need some inspiration. And whatever I have in my pantry or my whatever my available ingredients are or interests are, I can simply enter them into this application and get an expansive response of different recipes. And so that was a primary reason of why we pursued this application in this specific API. But let's get into the coding bit of it. Um, so here's our code, and it's important or it's necessary for me to touch on the technical problems that we encountered while coding our application. So the first problem was in the Google Volley request. So originally we were trying to make this request, call our API, and we weren't getting any response, but we also weren't getting any errors. So we were a little bit confused as to what was going on, and we found out it was because we forgot to include this request queue. So once we included that bit of code and created initialized a private request queue as an instance variable, we were able to see our response. Um, Now, the second main problem that we encountered was and is directly related to these try catch statements. So, in our JSON response, let me take you to that now. This example uses the ingredient input of shredded chicken, generates lots of different recipes. The count is 30 for this page. You can also go to other pages, get more new recipes. So we would go into this recipes JSON array, and in this example, it doesn't really work because there's lots of recipes, but say there was only 4 or 5 recipes available in this JSON array. We would be looking for the 5th or 6th element, and it would cause an error, and it would close our application. So we had to include these try-catch statements. Catch index out of bounds exception for any of these generated recipes, and if they worked, we would obviously go about normally in our application. We would implement everything normally. But if we caught an error, then we would set certain buttons that you would normally be enabled if the statement completed. We would set them to false, so the user wouldn't get confused, and the application wouldn't crash. So enough talking. Let's actually demo the application, and I will turn it over to Pranav.
Alright, so for our Android application demo, usually takes a few seconds to start up. There it is. So right here you'll notice our splash screen that shows up for a few seconds. It's gone now, but we're planning to add our logo there, and at the bottom, if you noticed, is both my name and Dylan's name. But the important stuff now. So here, where the cursor is, we would input our ingredients. So let me just put in chicken and cheese as an example. So you would input it as a comma separated list. So the API is really good at finding, or it's really good at noticing whether or not there's extra spaces, and it'll still run even if there's extra spaces or weird characters or something like that. So also, if you guys noticed, this generate recipes button, let me press OK here first. This generate recipes button was not available to be clicked on before I inputted some ingredients here, which was very useful because we wouldn't want to be able to generate recipes for a null ingredients input. So now I'll press generate recipes, and in a moment here, a few recipes will show up. So right now we have 3 options, and if none of these options interest us, we can go down here and press the generate new recipes. And when we press that, 3 new recipes will show up. And so we can keep on pressing this generate new recipes option until there are no longer any more recipes given by the API. And so now let's click on one of these. Let's click on load option 1. And so we'll see up top the recipe name, and right underneath that we'll see the source website. And so we put this here just in case not enough information was given on our app itself, and you wanted to go to the source URL with all the given information. And right underneath that, we have the social rank, which is basically the API's way of finding out how popular this recipe is. And it's really useful for the user to see how popular, I guess, that recipe would be. And underneath that, we have the list of ingredients in a scrollable list. And so we can always go back and click on a new recipe if we want to, and then we'll get the same type of information. So now I'll turn it back to Dylan.
And that's our application. So we hope you guys vote for us. And thanks for watching.